your child, River's 4, right?
He'll be 4 in April.
Okay, so how long has there been kind of a custody issue since the beginning, or were you on good terms?
Pretty much. So River, Sarah and I split up when River was about 7 or 8 months old. So he was born in April of 2018, and we split up in, I think, like November of that year. And then that was when I relocated to Seattle shortly thereafter. I was living with them in Teton Valley, like in Victor.
Mhm.
And I moved to Seattle like that January. And that's kind of when this all began.
Okay.
Yeah.
And has there ever been a cordial relationship as far as, you get weekends? How has that been so far?
No, I mean, to give you an idea of how this all started in the very beginning, when it first began, I hadn't seen River, my son, for like maybe a week or 10 days. And this is when Sarah and I had just split. I mean, it was right then. And at the time, Sarah and I were still texting. We weren't really talking on the phone, but we were texting, and there was communication. And I texted her and I said, hey, I haven't seen River in like a week or 10 days. She had moved initially in with a friend in Victor. So she was like, ostensibly like a mile away or something. So I said, hey, can I make a time to see River? Because I hadn't seen him like in a week or something. And he's only 8 months old at the time. And she's like, oh yeah, that's fine. We'll set something up. Well, then the conversation kind of went dark for a few more days. And the next thing I knew, I got a phone call from my attorney who I'd already retained. And he told me that she was in Arizona.
Mm.
So she had taken River, gone to Arizona. And I didn't even know that that was even on the table. I mean, I had no idea that she was even considering that. There had been no discussions at that point about what was going to happen, imminently.
Do you know, had she been involved in these really extreme groups before, or was that, do you think, kind of when she got started?
I think this grew over time, and I think it really escalated between the pregnancy with River and then after he was born. She went through like this big bout of postpartum depression and all of that stuff, and I think that as this grew more contentious, she started looking for these avenues. I mean, it seemed like that's when things really escalated. When I met her, she was, into some of these ideologies and stuff, but it wasn't nearly as extreme as it became.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years, have you ever, that was 8 months, she moves to Arizona. Have you been able to have any contact with River, or has it just
yes. Well, but only, so to give you an example, I moved to Seattle, and then initially, we ended up having a temporary court order as of that January, and an order was issued, and it was kind of a boilerplate, like what you would expect in something like that, where it was really quick, and it was just kind of what the court would probably order, kind of standard with a very young child where parents are living in two different places.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was in Arizona during that hearing and appeared via Zoom. I was in the Teton Valley, although I was moving away very quickly. It was January. And at that point I was given this visitation, which I think at the time was like 4 days a month. And I had to travel to Arizona to exercise that. So February of that year, that first, this is February 2019, I went to Phoenix and I visited River. I was there for 4 days. I got a hotel, a rental car, the whole 9 yards. Visited River, saw him for 4 days. At that point, he was really little. I mean, he wasn't even a year old yet.
Yeah.
And so I had that visit, and then, after that, I went through this period of like financial hardship. I mean, you have to understand, I moved out of the Teton Valley. I sold, one business that I owned in Jackson, Wyoming. I sold another business in Denver. I was going through all these like financial upheavals and dealing with this like new litigation and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and one challenge in this whole process has been paying for the actual attorney's fees, paying child support, and paying to visit.
Yeah.
So, if you lump all that on top of each other, and we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars a month.
Sure.
And so it was really, really challenging. And so I was kind of flat on my back for a while. And then I would say, I guess close to like a year went by and my situation improved and all that sort of thing. And during that year, I mean, I would have Zoom chats like, or with River, that were court ordered, that sort of thing. But I wasn't able to visit, certainly not as much as I would have liked.
Because of financial situations.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't, I didn't have the wherewithal to pay my child support and litigate and do visits.
Okay. So when did things really start to go off course?
So that would have been, we'll fast forward now to spring of 2020. So about a year elapses and my situation is better. I want to start exercising my visitation. I scheduled a visit for, I think it was like March of 2020. And, really things began to go off the rails as soon as I began trying to visit. I mean, it was like, the first visit that I tried to do, she made some claim about how, oh, it's the pandemic, you can't visit. I mean, she was using that as an excuse, which is, I didn't really know at the time, it wasn't an excuse. That's not like a thing in family court.
Our Idaho Supreme Court put out a statement basically to all the lawyers saying that all visitations were to proceed as ordered, regardless of the pandemic status.
Right. Okay. So I ended up canceling one visit over that, and then I scheduled a subsequent visit in April, and I went on the visit, and we had happened what's now happened. Well, now it's happened 5 times, but I flew to Arizona. I noticed her for the visit. I flew to Arizona. I got a hotel, a rental car, the whole 9 yards. I showed up in Arizona, and she just didn't show up. And my only communication, I mean, as we moved forward, and I'm not sure exactly when this happened. It was really probably initially, but my only communication with her since 2019 has largely been over email. So I would notice her for the visit. She would not respond. She would never say anything. And then I would show up for the visit and she just wouldn't respond. And I would email her and she would either send me something very cryptic and not confirm, or she just wouldn't respond at all.
You flew to Arizona 5 times and
I flew to Arizona twice.
Okay.
April of 2020, July of 2020. And then I flew to the Teton Valley 3 times.
And all those times you never saw River?
Correct.
And so she won't text you or talk on the phone?
No.
Is it because she won't give you her number, or she just?
I have her phone number. I have texted her and she will not respond.
You think you have her phone number at this point?
Yeah. And I mean,
that's changed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the phone number that I have may not even be a working number now, but we have really never texted or talked on the phone. That hasn't been.
Wow.
And by the way, she won't respond through counsel either. So if I send her an email and say, Sarah Lee will be there on this date, and this is what'll be going on, and this is where he's staying, she won't respond to me.
So, we at that point are in front of an Arizona judge. And so it's, I have an Arizona attorney, we have an Arizona judge. It's a different thing going on. And so she denied my visit in April of 2020. She then denied a subsequent visit that I had planned in July of 2020. The judge said to her prior to that visit, you have to show up for this visit. When she didn't show up on the July 2020 visit, I was given custody. And so that's when she ran back to Idaho.
They actually arranged the visit to accommodate her travel schedule. She said she'd be traveling on a certain day, and the judge said, okay, then we're going to do it in the days before that. You be here or else. And she refused to show up, left the state.
So July of 2020,
correct.
You got full custody.
Correct.
In Arizona.
Yes.
But then she fled to Idaho.
Yes.
And so that's when you started battling the same thing here in Idaho.
Right. Then the Idaho judge took it back over, and we as Lori said, we started again. I mean, it was all the efforts I had made in Arizona, all the legal fees, all that stuff was all down the drain. It was lost.
Oh my gosh.
We start again in Idaho, brand new, and we go through the process. And so, my first visit at that point was September of 2020. And then I visited, I think, September, October, November, December. And then I think I didn't visit in January. And then I visited like February and March. And I think I missed a visit in the spring because I had foot surgery. But I visited for the most part, like through fall and spring of 2020 and 21, I visited, every month. I think I missed maybe 2 out of like 10 or 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, I counted it up at one point, and during that period, I mean, during that whole 18-month period, I mean, I was with my son, I was with River, like it was like 45 days or something.
Mm. So if you were busy, I guess at that point, Lori, this might be a legal question. If you had full custody, why, when you came to visit, could you not like take him with you?
So what happened was what they call, what the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Enforcement Act kind of creates a standard across all the states so they know how to handle these situations. So a child has to be in a state for 6 months before that state can assume jurisdiction. Otherwise, it goes back to the place where he was living prior to that. In Lee's case, she had moved there. And then she fled to Idaho when she got these visitation orders and started her own case for child support. And this is where the judges talk, and they say, and she denies that she lived in Arizona. We know now that she did. She had a lease for a whole year. She was renting an apartment for a whole year there. So Arizona really did have jurisdiction, but the judges agreed that it was in Idaho because that's where the original order was out of. So he had to start over. So they vacated the custody order and made him start fresh again, made him start all over again. And that's where I came in, was in August of 2020.
Right. I that's been one of the challenges of this entire experience has been, we don't really communicate. I mean, at all. I mean, I would email her like a paragraph. I'd say, hey, I'm due to visit River, and I want to, and at the time he's really little, and I'm like, hey, I want to bring, toys or clothes, or what does he like to eat these days, and that sort of thing. And it would just go unanswered. So there wasn't really a lot of communication going on. I mean, I was doing Zoom chats with River, but
those
there wasn't.
Zoom are so painful to watch. You can't even, I've never seen anything like it. She'll sit and hold the child tightly and just stare at the camera, and he can see his mother's face behind him, and she'll just stare and hold it. And if he tries to talk to dad, she'll hold him tighter, or she'll send him away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the Zooms, I mean, I'm on the Zoom, I'm sitting there looking, and no one's in the frame. I mean, I'm looking at a couch or a table or something, and there's nothing there. I mean, I can hear him sometimes in the background, but there's no.
So she'll just turn on the camera and wow.
Yeah.
So when did things start to accelerate here in Idaho?
So that's a pretty easy one. So I did all these visits like 2020 to 21, and then we finally got to this past fall. So fall of 21, we get to September, October, and that is when the judge increased my visitation substantially. I mean, it went from me having River for a couple hours a day, 4 days in a row.
That was after the trial, Lee. So the trial was in August. And there was a malfunction with the recording. Nothing got recorded. And so the judge declared mistrial, wouldn't enter an order for custody, and told us we had to schedule a new trial. So we scheduled us a new trial about 6 or 8 weeks later. And then a bunch of crazy stuff happened. He entered an order for visitation for 3 days and 3 nights and 4 days for Lee, alternating weekends. And that's when she said, I'm not doing it. You cannot give this abuser visitation with my child overnight. He'll abuse the child.
Right. And so I did one visit on that schedule where I had him for 4 days and 3 nights. It was in October of this past fall. And then I did one of those, and she, grudgingly complied. I mean, she complied.
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, sort of. I mean, even the times weren't even correct, but I did get one visit on that schedule, basically. And then I tried to do a visit in November and another one in December based on what was awarded, and she denied those.
At Christmas, the judge gave us a writ of assistance, which basically is an order to the sheriff to go get the child from the mother and give him to the father for his Christmas visit. She could not be located by the police.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't she flat out say Friday she will not be there Monday with River?
She did, and she did that on the last visit too.
Yeah.
But in my entire time of being a lawyer, I've never seen anything like this, and I've seen some things.
One of the things I saw the judge do on the last hearing, and probably the previous one too, was just the big thing is he keeps asking where River is and where Sarah is, and she simply will not give that information. And that is just, when you say that to a judge, I don't know much about this, but that just is
none of your business. It's none of your business where I am. And her witnesses will say, it's none of your business where I am. It's none of your business where I live. It's none of your business where Sarah is.
So where do you think she is?
We don't know.
I don't have a clue.
Really?
None.
So, Lee, when's the last time you actually saw River?
At the end of October.
Wow.
On that visit.
Are you at all worried?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
And have they threatened you at all? Has she threatened you at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You obviously want full custody. Then are you worried, though, that if you get full custody, that you're a target?
Oh, completely. I mean, very much so. I mean, I've thought this through, for many, many months, and if not years, that even if I got full custody, I mean, it's going to be hard to let him out of my sight, just given how this has gone. I mean, I know the type of people that are involved with this, and it's kind of funny. I mean, it's hard enough to be a parent and to raise a child, let alone having to worry about some bad actor or someone, doing something like this.
What are her accusations about you being an abuser, or was it something with COVID?
No. So well, she's made a lot. I mean, some of them are when we were together that I was abusive to her then. And then some of them are, well, and then I've been accused of raping her.
But that was only the day. Now, let's be real clear here. There was
Right.
never an allegation that he raped her when they were living together, when she put his name on the birth certificate, when he was taking care of her. Even after they filed court papers and had visitation, there were no allegations of rape. She went to the sheriff's department in Teton County the day before our trial started in August and alleged that he had raped her.
Mm.
Right. So the trial, I mean, this trial is occurring in August of 2021.
So 4 years.
4 years. Yeah. Prior.
Are you adamantly denying any abuse?
Oh, completely. I never
understand timing of this was she accused him of rape the day before the trial. We didn't know that. So when she cross-examined Lee during the trial, there were all these questions about, you raped me, right? And he's like, no. And so we went through the trial. She asked him all the questions about raping her, which he denied. And then I get a call from the detective after the trial's over saying, hey, I've got to investigate this. Will your client talk to me? And I said, I'll do better than that. Why don't you just go get a copy of the trial transcript? She's already examined him for you. You can listen to his answers under oath.
I mean, this is entirely being used as a tool. It's being used as a mechanism to try to fight this.
Until the day before trial, she had never made any calls to the police ever to complain about any conduct of Lee's at any point. Never.
How long were you guys together?
We were together, I guess all told, it was 2.5 years or something. Not that long. I mean, we lived together in the Teton Valley. That's where River was born, and yeah. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. I mean, I don't feel like there's parity between, fathers and mothers in the family court system. I'm just being honest when I say that. I mean, I don't feel like it's fair in that sense. I guess the other message that I would just say is keep going, because I mean, there have been a lot of times in this process where I've been really down and wondering if we were ever going to get anywhere. And then you have like small wins, like when they increased my visitation, it at least made my trips a little bit more fruitful, because then I could ostensibly be with my son more. And then obviously eventually they changed custody again. So, I'm glad that I stuck it out. I mean, it's and also just, in the face of all these allegations, the level of character assassination that I've endured in this process is pretty amazing. I mean, it's something where I've really had to like work on my self-care and stuff, and just not, listen to that. And I think that that's fairly commonplace in situations like this. Mm-hmm. And so just
not to the degree, though, not to the degree, Lee. This is unlike any other case. I mean, character assassination is common in custody cases to some degree, but what's gone on here, it's not just Lee that's the victim of it. I'm the victim of it. The judges are all the victim of it. The deputies are the victim of it. Anybody who has anything to do with it gets accused. I stand accused right now in federal court of child trafficking, right? Of perjury, of there's such a laundry list of all the things I've done, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, all of this insane stuff. Everyone is being pelted with it. It's not just Lee.
I know you mentioned it briefly, Lee, about how you've had to, disregard comments and things like that, but mentally though, it has to have been just completely draining. And did you ever think about maybe giving up?
I mean, the only reason why I would have given up, and this is actually something for every dad out there, or everyone who's ever been through anything like this, and just to be completely transparent with you, I if I didn't make the type of money that I make, this would have been over 3 years ago, because I wouldn't have been able to put the fight that I have into this. If I was like your average guy making, $42,000 a year, I frankly just could not have done what I've done in terms of, all the things to put this in place and to make this happen. And I've had different people tell me I should give up or whatever, but just not that type of a guy.